hard to define what naturalism is. I guess there's not one specific naturalism, but there are many different naturalisms. Just to give you an example, one might be a methodological naturalist. That means one might say, when it comes to science, when it comes to how I'm investigating reality, then in terms of my methodology, I'm a naturalist. I'm assuming that all what I need for doing a proper investigation about reality is the assumption that there exist natural, or let's call it a more precise manner, physical entities. So one might say, I'm assuming that all I need for understanding what is going on in the material world, all what I need is at the end the assumption that there exist physical entities. These entities have physical properties, and the relations, the causal relations between these entities are also explicable in physical terms. So this means this person is making just a methodological claim, because he or she says this methodology is enough for explaining a certain realm of reality. It might be that there are other entities. It might be that there are immaterial souls. It might be that there are gods. It might be that there are spirits, entities that are not accessible from a physical point of view. They might exist, but they are just not part of my research program. So the claim of the methodological naturalist can be seen as rather modest. It's just saying, I'm using this methodology and I'm assuming within this methodological grasp of reality that all what there is are some physical entities. But it might still be that some other entities of another kind exist, but they just fall outside the scope of my research. So this would be methodological naturalism. Then one might be an ontological naturalist. That's a much stronger claim. The ontological naturalist would say all what there is, all what there exists is just some physical reality. So the ontological naturalist is explicitly denying that there can be any immaterial souls, spirits, minds, gods, or any other entities that are not at the end reducible to some physical entities. So I guess you see that the ontological naturalist makes a much more stronger claim, because it's a strong ontological claim, whereas the methodological naturalist is just making a claim about a certain methodology. He might just say that's the best methodology we have for explaining a certain part of reality. So that would be one, like the first part of my answer. There's not one naturalism, but there are many naturalisms. When it comes to the question which form of naturalism might be the more interesting one, then I would say, well, that's ontological naturalism. That's just makes a strong claim. At the end, ontological naturalism goes hand in hand with a reductionist program, at least in the sense that our complex world, how we perceive it, at the end has to be reduced to some fundamental physical entities interacting with each other. That's it's not just a strong claim, it's also a fascinating program. Like if someone would really be able to achieve this reduction, so that would be a very interesting result about our reality, because then it could be shown that indeed all what there is in reality is just physical. It's another question whether this really can be achieved, but I'm just saying, I guess the more interesting, the philosophical interesting position would be ontological naturalism. Now, naturalism should not be confused with natural science. Naturalism is a philosophical claim. If I'm saying all what there is in reality is physical, or some physical entities, so this is a philosophical claim. It's not a claim that can directly derive from natural sciences, let's say physics. Of course, physics is assuming a methodological naturalism. Physics says all what I can explain as a physicist, I have to explain it in terms of physics. So my methodological access to the world is a physical one. But there still might be some other entities, but they just fall outside the scope of my expertise, the scope of my research, my field of research. So I think that the natural sciences, they can perfectly live well without naturalism. They can say, well, we try to investigate these features of reality that are accessible to our methodology, and these features of reality they have to be somehow materially constituted. There can be other features of reality, but they just fall outside the scope of science. Let's assume God exists, then of course this would be an additional entity which would show that ontological naturalism would be wrong, but this would leave natural science, the whole process of natural investigation, untouched, because as a natural scientist, I could still continue my research. I could still try to find out many things about the physical world, even if there exists an immaterial God. So it would just, naturalism, ontological naturalism, would be disproved by the existence of God, but the whole scientific process, also scientific progress, would not be somehow undermined or would not be somehow blocked by this discovery that there exists an immaterial God.